Welcome to a Sacred Space podcast. I'm your host, Katie Smith. If you're ready to get organized, love your body, and fully connect with your soul, then this is the place for you. Listen in as I discuss all things home, body, and soul, and how to create space in our lives for joy, love, and deep connection. Let's get started. Hello, beauties. So I am coming to you today on this podcast to talk about health, actually. And before we dive into this, it might be a little controversial today. I'm going to say some stuff that came up for me yesterday. And so before we dive in, I just want to set the intention. And I'm going to try to do that in every call because intention is like such a huge part of how I live and what I believe in, and setting an intention every day and for everything I do is something I'm really trying to be more conscious of. So it's very important to do that for this, for my podcast episodes as well. So today I just want to set the intention that we all see our truth, recognize our truth, and come to this place of living from complete wholeness and seeing that we are whole and that we are complete and that we are exactly where we should be in this moment right now, and that we live from that place and we allow our truth to expand from the inside out into the world where we can live joyfully no matter what is going on, and because we're grounded in our truth. So that is my intention for all of us. And so today we're going to talk about health and your health. So there's this underlying sort of belief, and it's not just in Western medicine. You'll find it in holistic health. You'll find it in the natural health world. I have deep dived into that world and worked in that world and in the holistic health world for more than 12 years. And so I know that this mindset exists there. And the mindset is that without your health, you have nothing, that you can't live a full life without your health. And this comes from the belief that that our bodies are basically everything that we are. And it's funny that you would find that underlying belief in holistic health, because the whole point of holistic health is wholeness and embracing like health in all areas, mind, body, spirit. So this belief is not real, by the way. Like, that's why I'm going to talk about it today. It is not a truth. And for the longest time, I believed that it was. And when I first got Graves' disease a few years ago, after I had my daughter, I realized, or I was scared to death. And I basically thought that I had this death sentence hanging over my head, and that, I was just going to live this horrible lackluster life. It was just going to be this poor quality of life where I struggled every day. I had seen, my mom had gotten Graves' disease, and I had seen how it ended up for her, and it was this very horrible ordeal for her. And, so I'm looking at it just from this place of like complete fear. And it took me a long time to realize that I didn't have to live that way. So during the time when I was believing my health is everything, and without my health, I have nothing, which I've pretty much always believed that. And I've always been sick since I was a little kid. That's why I ended up in holistic health in the first place, was because I was constantly sick, and Western medicine did nothing for me except to seem to like exacerbate my problems and make them worse. So I ended up in my, like when I was like 20, or 21 maybe, I ended up getting a job in holistic health, and then it just sort of, branched out from there. So anyways, so I truly believed that, without our health, we have nothing. And I've been on every cleanse. I've taken every supplement. I have changed my diet 15 million times over. I've done it all. And to little or no benefit. So eventually I had to ask myself, like, what is the point of all this? Because taking all the supplements, doing all the diet stuff, doing all this different stuff, like, it doesn't really seem, I can notice some benefits, but it doesn't really seem to change. It wasn't giving me what I wanted out of it. It wasn't giving me like this magnificent health that I thought that it would give me. And the reason for that was eventually what I figured out. It took some time, and then I was able to put all the pieces together, and that happened after I got Graves' disease. So I chose not to get treatment for my Graves' disease. I took nothing. I got no treatment whatsoever for it. And the symptoms were really bad when it first started. I had no energy. I'm like 30 years old. I have no energy. Literally, like, I can barely get out of bed. My blood pressure is like off the charts. I couldn't work. Like, it was really bad. So, eventually I got to this point and I was like, I chose not to take treatment for it, but I can't like live my life, like, not, doing anything, like feeling this way. And I decided that this was my opportunity to try my hand at energetic healing. And what I mean by that is healing like my mindset, is healing at a conscious level. And eventually what I found is that health in your body does not take away or give anything to you as a person. And this comes from the ultimate truth that we are whole and complete already. And whatever happens within our body does not take away from our wholeness or our completeness. And that the things that are happening in our body can be changed via a change in consciousness, because health exists in our consciousness. And I was able to basically nullify all of my symptoms, like completely get rid of all of these horrible symptoms that I was having with a simple mindset change. And the first part, and it will always come down to this, because every time anything changes in my life is when I choose to take responsibility for it. So the first part was, I feel like crap. I have all these symptoms. I take responsibility for this. I've created it somehow in my mindset. Let me figure out how I did that and go from there. But even that, let me figure out how I did that thing is still a partial thing. I was trying to fix the problem rather than live my life from wholeness. So, you can't fix any problems. I listen to Derek Rydell all the time, and he says that ice at 32 degrees will always be ice. You cannot fix it at 32 degrees. You cannot make it melt at 32 degrees. And so if your problem is at 32 degrees and you're trying to fix it, but you're still at 32 degrees, nothing's going to happen. And I love that analogy because that's so true. You have to go higher. You have to go higher in your consciousness. You have to elevate your consciousness, and then the problems dissolve on their own. Just like when you raise the temperature on ice, it dissolves on its own and becomes water. So that's what I've done. So the lie is that we have nothing without our health. Health has to do with our consciousness. It has nothing to do with our bodies. Our bodies are these beautiful vessels that we are given to experience this life through our five senses. But we put way too much stock on our bodies. We put way too much pressure on our bodies as being who we are. And they are not who we are. We are whole and complete sacred space. That's who we are. We are, this being who's looking for constant expansion. We are children of God. We are these beautiful individual expressions of God. So there's no problem that cannot be addressed through the premise of expansion. Absolutely none. God doesn't look at us and see a problem. He doesn't look at us and say, like our soul doesn't look at us and say, you're sick, you have a problem. That's not how it works. And so I just wanted to address that. I just want, especially if you're going through like any type of health problem, you can overcome it and you can expand out of it. And I am living proof of that. I've done it for myself. I don't have the symptoms of Graves' disease at all, rarely. And if I do, it does not affect my everyday life. It does not affect what I do. It does not affect if I play with my daughter or if I work or any of these things. I am not affected by it in a negative way. I might notice it. Oh, I feel tired today, or oh, my stomach hurts, or whatever, whatever it is. But it doesn't affect the quality of my life. So you can still be sick and you can still live a high quality life. You can still have someone say you have this disease and you can still live a high quality life, even if you have that. And it's mindset, it's consciousness, it's having a healthy consciousness. It's recognizing that you are already whole and complete and making the decision to feel the way you want to feel in life. And we have the power to do that no matter how terrible we feel in our body. We are not our body. So we can make a choice to feel how we want to feel, regardless of what our body is currently expressing. And then the beauty of doing that, the beauty of choosing to feel joy or choosing to feel highly energetic when you have, like say you have fibromyalgia or some autoimmune disorder. And Graves' disease, by the way, is an autoimmune disorder. So a lot of the symptoms that you might experience in fibromyalgia, or rheumatoid arthritis, or any of these things are the same because they are all caused by autoimmune disorders. So anyways, regardless, and autoimmune disorders seem to be like, the disorders that really take away from the quality of life the most. So that's why I want to speak to that, because I really want you to understand that if you have an autoimmune disorder, you are not stuck in that. You don't have to take that label on and say, this is who I am and this is what my life is now, because it doesn't have to be that way. And I promise you that there is a beautiful gift within that disorder, within that label, that and the reason that you have that disorder, there is a reason, there is a gift in that. But the first thing you want to do is choose how you want to feel and make that decision every single day. And it gets easier and easier and easier. I promise you. It was not super easy at first for me to do that, but I just kept making the decision and everything changed. And now I don't even have to think about it. It's not something that is a struggle. It just takes time, and it takes commitment to committing to how this is how I'm going to feel, and realizing that you are not your body and that you are whole and complete, even if you feel at this point in time that your body is not. Okay, so the other thing to know is that our bodies do these things. We end up with disorders, we end up with diseases, and that sort of thing for a reason. And the reason's always going to come from your consciousness level at the time that the disorder happened. So at the time that mine happened, I was living in a lot of fear. I had created a life for myself that was not healthy. I was just angry and selfish, and I was just living like a very egoic lifestyle. And that's okay. Like, it is what it is. You know what I mean? But there were lessons to be learned in that. And this was part of my breakdown. It was part of my crisis moment. And it wasn't the full thing, but it was a big part of it. And so what it has taught me thus far, and one of the biggest things for me that I've realized is, and you can find the truth by looking at the area of the disease or the disorder. So for me, mine is in my thyroid, and or a big part of it is in my thyroid. And that is located in your throat. It's a butterfly-shaped gland that is part of the endocrine system in your throat. And for me, I realized almost right away that what my biggest issue was is that I don't speak my truth, and I never have. And I didn't even know what my truth was at that point in time. And if I did, there was no way I was going to speak it because I was too afraid of what people might think. I always felt like I was definitely like a people pleaser, and I was always afraid that I would like offend somebody, or that they wouldn't like me, or they wouldn't accept me, etc., etc. So then I end up with Graves' disease, and I realized, like, oh my God, I don't know what my truth is. I don't even know what I want. I've been living my life trying to please other people and gain their acceptance. And here's the reason why I ended up with this dis-ease, is because I shut myself down in this area. And my soul is, constantly trying to expand and constantly trying to express. And this huge channel of communication and expression, I completely shut down for years. So voila, I end up with a dis-ease in that area. Okay, so from that point on, I've worked really hard to first find out what my truth is. What do I want? What is my truth? And then from that point, decide how I want to feel every single day and what I want to do, and set boundaries, and accept myself. And that was like a huge part of it. And that's a huge part of why I feel the level of energy that I have, or I feel joyful within, is because I've chosen to accept myself and exactly how I am now. Like, flaws and all, I don't care. And that's a big part of it. Like, you can't judge yourself, and you can't sit there and condemn yourself and say, I did this wrong and I did that wrong. We're human beings, and we are not perfect, and in our expression, or in the way that we live our life. We just are who we are, but that doesn't take away from our wholeness or our completeness. And so when I realized my baseline truth, that I am whole and complete, the self-acceptance thing has become so easy. It's and so natural, because it's like, oh, I'm already whole and complete. Like, there is no reason for me to condemn myself. There's no reason for me to look at every little thing I do and place so much judgment on who I am and what I'm doing every single day, because I know that I'm whole and complete, and I live from that space. I have practices every single day that keep me grounded in that space. So here, let's come back around and do like a review, so that I can, sometimes I need to gain my thoughts, and it's best to do a review. Okay, so basically here it is. Your health does not determine the quality of your life. The health in your body does not determine your quality of life, period. Your health, your true health, and the truth about your health is in your consciousness. And bottom line, always come back to this, you are whole and complete exactly how you are now. So no matter what disease you are dealing with, no matter what disorder you are dealing with, there is a gift in it, and there is something in it that your body is trying to tell you, or actually that your soul is trying to tell you through your body. Okay? The point of us as souls in a body is to expand and express. If we're not expanding and we're not expressing, stagnant energy happens. And that's what disease is it's stagnant energy. Just like I shut down my truth and I refused to express it for fear of being rejected, I created stagnancy in my throat, where you communicate and express from verbally. And therefore, I ended up with a dis-ease in that area. It is as simple and as plain as that. So what do I do about that? What do we do when we find out we have created stagnancy in our life? Well, you get the water moving again. You remove the blocks, and so that your wholeness and your completeness can completely shine through. And, that's probably, maybe I wasn't like completely aware of this until now, but I think that that's a huge reason why I just felt so strongly that I needed to do a podcast for the last few months. Because it was like the next step in my evolution. It was like the next step in my expansion. First, it started with a whole ton of writing. I just started writing everything out, figuring out what I wanted, what my truth was. And then now the next step in my evolution and my expansion and my expression is to speak it out loud, to say it out loud on this podcast where it's visible to other people. And so this is my process, and this is the way that I am choosing to heal myself. And again, for at least the past year and a half, I have had no residual effects from my Graves' disease as far as the quality of my life. And that's because I chose to see it differently. I chose to see myself differently. I chose to see the fact that I am already whole and complete, and that there is a gift in this disease that will show me exactly what I need to do, that will show me the truth. So whenever there's a lie that exists, and whenever there's stagnancy that exists, if we're willing to look at it, we will find our truth. So that's like a whole bunch of information to digest that I just laid out there. But I wanted to, this kept coming up, and I really want to clarify and make sure that people understand, especially in the area of health, because we've created, there's so many industries that profit from health stuff, and there's so many people that it's just like a big thing. It's something we're so focused on, is like health, and look a certain way and feel a certain way, and your body has to be a certain way, and blah, blah, blah. And it's just created such a bad dysmorphia, and, especially for women, and I think for men too, because I think that it's less obvious for men, but it's still there. If you don't look a certain way, then you're not really a man or whatever. So whether you're a man or a woman, I think that we all experience this level of just feeling incomplete around our bodies, and feeling bad about ourselves if we don't have a certain level of muscle tone, or if we don't work out every day, or if we're not eating in the right way, or if we do end up with some disorder or dis-ease, that something's wrong with us, And I just want you to know, nothing is wrong with you. Absolutely not. This is part of your evolution. This is part of your expansion. It's part of, who you are. And it's going to show you your real self if you let it. Give it a chance to speak to you. Give it a chance to show you who you truly are, and it will. And so that's really the message today. Never forget how beautiful and amazing you are, and never forget that there is a gift in everything. Everything has a gift, and everything is good. Everything is very, very good. And if you choose to see things differently, you will see the benefit in them, and you will see what they're trying to tell you, and how they're trying to heal you, and how they're trying to get more of who you truly are to express itself. And that's a beautiful thing. There's nothing wrong with that. And there's nothing wrong with you. And there's nothing wrong with me. Just kidding. Okay, so that's the episode for today. But I love you guys so much, and thank you so much for listening. And I think that's all I've got, and we will see you next time. Thank you so much for listening. I'm so glad you chose to join me today. Don't forget to subscribe so you get all the latest episodes right away. And if you love what you hear, leave me a review so that more people can hear it too. You can also register for updates at sacredspacewithkatie.com www.healthwithjoy.com/podcast. Be sure to check out my website while you're there for all the great resources and free stuff. Have a beautiful day, gorgeous. See you soon.